Hello, this is Game of Politics. In these vlogs I'm going to focus more on the daily politics, whereas in my main videos I'm going to focus on the more ideological and the more strategic aspects of politics. The first major focus of this vlog is going to be Theresa May's focus on discrimination within the public sector. Whether it's actually a problem, and whether there are other explanations for it than just pure racism. Oh, Bonnie, what are you rolling in? Oh, I can't show. What were you rolling in? You horrible animal. Yeah, the first point is a few statistics have been released recently to do with racial discrimination between black, Asian, minority, ethnic groups and white groups. For example, within the education system, the Key Stage 2 pupils, reading levels, about 50 or so percent white students managed to get the reading up to a satisfactory level. I think it was 30% of black minority students have reading levels up to a satisfactory percentage. Although, with Asian minority students, there's about a 70 to 80% of them have satisfactory reading. And that was one example that Theresa May used and the reports used to focus on with the racial disparity. And another particular thing that the reports focused on is housing. About 65% of white people own their own home, whereas it's only about 40% of black people. And that's a major difference, because obviously the investment of housing is a lot larger. And there also things like the unemployment rate. It's about twice as much for black, Asian, ethnic minority groups as it is for white people. But it's debatable whether that's actually because of systematic racism or whether it's other reasons. I think the major takeaway from the report is it's Theresa May trying to focus the efforts of her government on this issue, and you have to kind of ask, this being the game of politics, whether she's just using it as a political tool. I think black, Asian, minority ethnic groups are historically Labour stronghold in terms of demographics, as you could see in my 2017 general election overview for the demographics. But it would be a very fruitful endeavour for May to focus on that group to try and gain votes. Of course, the way the population demographics is working, that group is growing at more than white in terms of percentage of the population. But I think you need to focus on, we need to focus on whether Theresa May is sincere about this or whether it's just gaining votes. I'm not too sure. Maybe you can leave a comment and answer that. But the racial disparity also brings up some weird questions about a meritocracy. I mean, more black, Asian, minority, ethnic students are going to university than white at the moment. Does that mean that in 30, 40 years there'll be the majority of professionals? I don't know. And does that mean white people become disadvantaged? Somehow I can't see it anytime soon. But it's definitely an important thing to consider when discussing racial demographics. Sorry, I just cleaned the lens. One particular thing that Boris Johnson's former culture advisor, I can't remember her name, was saying was that she doesn't think that it's helpful to bring up these statistics. And to some extent it might not be, because it's kind of inciting a victim mentality within these Black Asian minority groups. And when you have a victim mentality, it's a lot more difficult to kind of pull yourself out of that. Because if you feel that the system's against you, then you're not going to be motivated to improve yourself. But I think you need to comment whether you agree with that. It also brings up the question about the meritocracy in general. Is Britain a meritocracy? Personally, I don't think so. As I think in a true meritocracy, the amount of money your parents have wouldn't determine how far you get in life. Hello, Bonnie. But in the UK, it obviously does. You can see that by just going to a Russell Group university and see how many of the students are upper middle class or upper class. Russell Group is completely dominated by upper middle class. I went to Birmingham, a Russell Group university, a couple of weeks ago, and my girlfriend was the only one in her flat who hasn't been to a private school. And there's 6 people in her flat, so 1 in 6 hadn't been to a private school. But I think that's a very interesting question. If a upper middle class parent can pay for their child to go to a private school with smaller class sizes, it really does make a difference, because class sizes in private schools generally tend to be between 5 and 10 at most, whereas with state schools, for example, when I went to college, class sizes were about 1 teacher for 25, even 30 at times, if they were particularly well-subscribed courses. Interestingly, though, class sizes were a lot smaller in STEM subjects. It just shows where the college put their priorities. But anyway, I think, so would the solution to that be all schools be state-run and to not have private schools at all? And to some extent, I think that would be a great idea. But are you taking away the right of the parent to give their child a better education when you do that? You can also bring up things like inheritance tax. Surely it's not due to merit what a child will inherit from their parents, so why not have 100% income tax? That seems to be the most fair way of doing it. But of course, parents and people get emotional about whether it's the money that they're passing on to their children. Rightly so. But those are some things I've just been pondering recently. If you found any value from this video, then please subscribe. And this has been The Game of Politics. Thank you for watching.